Radio check. Cool.
Loud and clear. And Lando, just make sure you can read my handwriting. I know you struggle with mine. 1.7 seconds.
Just when it seemed like Lando Norris was on his way to a dream season, disaster struck. A shocking revelation about his performance and car issues at the 2025 Chinese Grand Prix has raised serious concerns. Could this be the moment that costs him his shot at the World Championship? Let's discuss the full story. It was lap 47 at the Shanghai International Circuit, March 23, 2025. McLaren's Lando Norris, running second behind teammate Oscar Piastri, keyed his radio with a chilling message. "My brake pedal is going a bit long." Within moments, that bit long became a lot longer, and by the final laps, it was a full-blown crisis. According to McLaren team principal Andrea Stella, the issue stemmed from a leak, not in the brake line, but in a critical component, forcing Norris to adapt on the fly.
The race has been more tense than it might have looked. First of all, because at the stop we lost the position with Lando to Russell, so we needed to recover the position.
Stella explained to the media what was 100-meter braking became 200 meters, and towards the end, it was 300 meters. Norris had to lift off the throttle, coast, and apply the gentlest pressure just to make it around corners. By lap 54, his engineer Will Joseph warned, "The brake situation is getting critical." His lap times ballooned from the 1:36 seconds to the 1:38 seconds, and George Russell's Mercedes loomed ever closer in his mirrors. Yet, against all odds, Norris nursed the car home, crossing the line just 1.3 seconds ahead of Russell to secure second place and McLaren's 50th 1-2 finish. "I was lucky to finish," Norris admitted. "Brakes are something you really do need. They can save your life."
How are you feeling about that? First of all, how scary was the brake issue towards the end? Because George just said to me half a lap more and he thinks he could have got you.
He would have got me next lap, yeah.
It will be a long, hard stare at the 5 red lights when they go out. Second Grand Prix of the year will begin. The Chinese Grand Prix is underway.
But here's where the story takes a darker turn. While Norris and the team celebrated the podium, Andrea Stella didn't mince words. This wasn't a triumph, it was a failure. "It's unacceptable from a reliability point of view," he told reporters in Shanghai. "We need to do better." The brake issue, which emerged 15 to 20 laps from the end, wasn't just a fluke. It was a flaw McLaren knew about, but couldn't fix mid-race. Norris had the pace to challenge Piastri for the win, sitting just 3 seconds back before the issue struck. Instead, he lost 6 seconds in the closing laps, helpless as his teammate cruised to victory. Now, let's shift focus to the firestorm that followed. Former F1 driver Guido van der Garde didn't hold back, slamming Norris's performance over the entire Chinese Grand Prix weekend. He pointed to a pivotal moment during the first round of pit stops. George Russell, pitting a lap earlier, overtook Norris on the outside, a move van der Garde called super action. But for Norris, he was really asleep there, the Dutchman said. "You have to make yourself wide. Push him out." Nothing happened. Van der Garde's critique didn't stop there. "That's how you never become world champion," he warned, arguing that Norris's failure to fight tooth and nail in that moment exposed a deeper flaw. "If you keep driving like this and let things like this happen, you won't take that title." He even brought up Australia, the season opener where a late mistake in wet conditions let Max Verstappen close in for the win. Norris, for his part, has been vocal about his 2025 goal, the Drivers' Championship. After a breakout 2024, he leads the standings by 8 points over Verstappen after 2 rounds. But with McLaren's brake debacle and van der Garde's stinging words, doubts are creeping in. Is Norris tough enough? Or is he, as van der Garde put it, still a bit anxious? So why does this matter beyond one race? Let's zoom out. McLaren entered 2025 as the team to beat, fresh off a constructor's title in 2024. Norris and Piastri have each won a Grand Prix this season, Australia and China, respectively, proving their car is the class of the field. But reliability issues like this brake failure could unravel everything. As Stella admitted, "We have been tense at the pit wall. If McLaren can't trust their machinery, how can Norris trust them to deliver a title?" Then there's the human element. Norris called the brake issue his worst nightmare. Meanwhile, Piastri's flawless drive from pole to victory only sharpens the contrast and the pressure. With both drivers in championship contention, McLaren faces a delicate balancing act. Can they keep the car competitive and reliable, or will internal battles and mechanical woes fracture their campaign? Fanon wrote, "So you have to make yourself wide and push him out. So we're normalizing the illegal pushing of other drivers off track now, are we?" Another replied, "He is not necessarily saying off track, but wide enough to make it difficult. All of these tactics are very old. I watched Senna use the most brutal tactics. On track, Prost was a saint compared to Senna. Mansell did the same stuff as did Schumacher. Yes, push them wide." Lando Norris narrowly escaped catastrophe at the Chinese Grand Prix, but the incident has exposed deeper vulnerabilities that could derail his season. What started as a promising weekend took a sharp turn when a brake failure struck, forcing him into a desperate fight for control and nearly wiping out a hard-earned podium finish. The close call left Norris shaken but intact, yet the aftermath has been anything but quiet. A former F1 driver didn't hold back, delivering a blistering critique of Norris's handling of the situation, pointing fingers at both the driver's composure and McLaren's preparation. Adding fuel to the fire, McLaren's own team bosses have publicly acknowledged their missteps, admitting that the car's reliability issues are a self-inflicted wound. This isn't just a one-off scare, it's a glaring red flag for Norris's championship aspirations. With the pressure mounting and the clock ticking, McLaren has a razor-thin window of 2 weeks to regroup before the Japanese Grand Prix kicks off on April 4th. The Suzuka circuit, with its unforgiving turns and high stakes, won't forgive lingering weaknesses. For Norris, who's long been touted as a future title contender, this feels like a pivotal moment. The team's ability to address their mechanical gremlins and shore up their strategy could mean the difference between a season-defining recovery and a collapse that haunts him for years. Will McLaren rise to the occasion, silencing the doubters and proving their mettle? Or will this be the chapter in Norris's story where promise turns to regret? A missed opportunity he'll replay long after the checkered flag falls. One thing's clear. In Formula One, you don't get second chances when the brakes fail, on the track or in the title fight.
As we head into the high-speed turns at 9 and 10, with Verstappen getting so close.
Yeah, but he's in the dirty air through these high-speed chicanes. This should just be enough for Lando to break free.
Lando Norris has done it. The 25-year-old British driver delivered a masterclass performance at Albert Park, winning the season-opening Australian Grand Prix in spectacular fashion. Despite treacherous conditions and relentless pressure from four-time world champion Max Verstappen, Norris held his nerve to cross the finish line just 0.895 seconds ahead of his rival. This victory marks McLaren's 12th win in Australia, setting a new record previously held by Ferrari. McLaren entered the 2025 season with high expectations following impressive performances in Bahrain testing. The team lived up to the hype during Saturday's qualifying session, securing a front-row lockout that sent a clear message to their competitors. Norris claimed pole position with a stunning lap, while teammate Oscar Piastri secured second place, delighting the home crowd. The dominance was undeniable. Verstappen, their closest challenger, qualified nearly 4/10 behind Norris. After qualifying, Norris made a bold statement about McLaren's performance. "I don't know why people always talk about the car so much, like Oscar and I drove very well in qualifying, but the others should not have been as far off as what they were. That was clear, and I do think we have by a little margin the best car, I'm not denying that, but not everything is about the car, that is clear." Race day in Melbourne arrived with ominous skies and a weather forecast that promised drama. Heavy rain earlier in the day created extremely challenging conditions on a track already known for its difficulty when wet. What made Albert Park particularly hazardous was the combination of factors working against driver control. The coastal location brought unpredictable wind gusts. The track surface, used just once a year for racing, had been baked by sunshine in previous days, then covered with racing rubber from support events. When rain fell on this combination, along with the painted lines that crisscross this public park road circuit, grip levels plummeted to dangerously low levels. As Martin Brundle described it in his race analysis, when water falls on top of that, along with the copious painted lines of this otherwise year-round public park, the resultant low grip can feel like ice. These conditions would test even the most experienced drivers on the grid. The drama began before the race officially started. During the formation lap, Racing Bull rookie Isaac Hajar lost control at the exit of Turn 1, crashing into the wall and ending his Grand Prix debut before it had even begun. The visibly distraught Frenchman had to be consoled by several figures, including Anthony Hamilton and F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali. This incident forced an aborted start, with a second formation lap taking place 10 minutes later. When the lights finally went out, Norris maintained his lead into Turn 1, though his getaway wasn't perfect. Verstappen, meanwhile, made a lightning start, passing Piastri to claim second position. Both McLarens slewed wildly on the exit of Turn 1, struggling for grip as they applied power. The chaotic opening continued when Alpine's Jack Doohan crashed at Turn 6, caught out by the treacherous white lines. During the ensuing safety car period, Carlos Sainz, last year's race winner, also found the barriers, spinning his Williams at the final corner while gently accelerating. 3 drivers had crashed out, and the race had barely begun. Only 14 of the 20 starters would eventually see the checkered flag in what was rapidly becoming one of the most incident-filled races in recent memory. When racing finally resumed after the initial safety car period, a clear pattern emerged at the front. Norris led Verstappen, with Piastri close behind in third. This trio quickly began pulling away from fourth-place George Russell in the Mercedes. The gap to Russell grew to 8 seconds by lap 13 as the track began to dry. However, Verstappen's challenge faced a setback on lap 18 when he made an uncharacteristic error, brushing the gravel trap at turn 11. This mistake allowed Piastri to pass him, putting McLaren in a dream 1-2 position. What followed was a display of McLaren's superior pace. Norris and Piastri began to extend their lead over Verstappen at an alarming rate. By the time Fernando Alonso crashed his Aston Martin on lap 34, triggering another safety car, the McLaren duo had built a commanding 18-second advantage over the defending world champion. Red Bull was burning through its tires far quicker than the McLaren, which signals the MCL 39 is kinder on its rubber than the RB21. On average, Verstappen had about a 6/10 deficit to Norris every lap, although this is helped by the alarming loss of lap time once the Red Bull munched through its intermediate rubber. Shortly after the restart, the promised rain arrived with sudden intensity, transforming the race once again. Both McLarens ran wide at turn 12 as they hit the wet section of track. While Norris managed to recover quickly, Piastri's car spun completely, leaving him stranded on the grass at turn 13. He eventually got going again, but was a lap down by the time he rejoined. Norris immediately pitted for intermediate tires while Verstappen briefly stayed out on slicks and inherited the lead. It was a momentary advantage for Red Bull, as the intensifying rain soon forced Verstappen to pit as well, tiptoeing around the final sector on increasingly treacherous, slick tires. Norris later said, "We went off, made some big mistakes, I went through the gravel and caused a lot of damage, but these are the ones that are enjoyable and unpredictable, but this time we got it right and ended on top." The rain claimed more victims as Red Bull's Liam Lawson crashed at turn 2 and Sauber's Gabriel Bortoleto lost control at turn 13. With both cars requiring recovery, the safety car was deployed once more, setting up a dramatic 6-lap sprint to the finish between Norris and Verstappen. The final restart positioned Norris ahead of Verstappen with just 6 laps remaining. The pressure was immense as the Red Bull loomed large in Norris's mirrors. The McLaren driver initially pulled away, but then made a critical error at the notorious turn 6, dropping a wheel in the gravel. This mistake allowed Verstappen to close to within DRS range, a potentially race-deciding moment. With DRS activated, Verstappen gained approximately 1 second per lap on the straights, putting Norris under intense pressure.
Dried, we got a lot quicker, and then the Red Bull started to struggle. So I knew Max would be quick in those last few laps, and I knew he would, risk a bit more because it's only 5, 6, 7 laps to go. And I did make a mistake in turn 6 where I just put a wheel on the gravel. I just lost all my momentum and drive. And Max got to within DRS, and then DRS really managed to help him stay there. So It's just tough because it's not so much just the pressure of him being there, but it was the pressure of if I put a wheel too close to a white line on an entry, I'm off. If I clip the curb wrong in 6 on the inside, I'm off. If I dip a wheel in the gravel, I get a bad run in his past. Like, there's so many little things that can go wrong. So just trying to concentrate on not locking, not rear locking, not hitting the curbs wrong, but still trying to go quicker than you've ever gone because, you know, a guy's trying to do the same behind you, you know. So it was stressful. I'm not going to lie about that. And, you know, I was checking my mirrors a good amount and things like that. But even when Will came on the radio to me and told me just to chill out a little bit, you know, he...
Despite the pressure, Norris remained remarkably composed. With calm guidance from his race engineer Will Joseph, he defended perfectly through the final laps, preventing Verstappen from finding a way past. When the checkered flag waved, just 0.895 seconds separated the two drivers. Norris said this after his victory: "It was amazing. A tough race, especially with Max behind me. I was pushing. It was, especially the last 2 laps, a little bit stressful, I'm not gonna lie, but amazing way to start the year." In the aftermath of his victory, Norris was quick to acknowledge the team's contribution while also emphasizing his own performance. "We got it wrong a lot last year, so I guess we learned from our mistakes," he reflected, highlighting McLaren's improved strategic decision-making. Speaking about the challenges of the race, Norris said, "It was a tough race, especially with Max behind me. I was pushing. It was a little bit stressful. I am not going to lie. We went off, made some big mistakes. I went through the gravel and caused a lot of damage, but these are the ones that are enjoyable and unpredictable. But this time we got it right and ended on top." Norris didn't shy away from acknowledging McLaren's car advantage while maintaining that driver skill played a crucial role. "I think we do, by a little margin, have the best car. I'm not denying that, but not everything is about the car, and that's clear." He also praised the team's winter development work.
So there's a lot more behind the scenes that even I don't know. You know, a lot of it is the strategy team doing their work. So I owe the strategy team a lot of credits for today because they've put in a lot of time and effort over the winter to build up and improve on such things even more. It's not just about driving a car quickly on a day like today, but a big part of it is also that. So, I owe a lot to Will and the strategy team today.
Oscar Piastri got past Lewis Hamilton on the last lap, and this is how he did it, going all the way around the outside. What a...
Lewis Hamilton's highly anticipated Ferrari debut has ended in disappointment as the 7-time world champion struggled to a meager 10th place finish in a chaotic Australian Grand Prix. The British driver, who had described the move to the Italian team as the most exciting period of my life just days earlier, admitted his first race weekend in the famous red livery went a lot worse than he had expected.
At least I got 1 point, but did I get a point? I don't know if I did get a point, so yeah. But yeah, overall, not what I was hoping for.
Hamilton's performance at Albert Park fell dramatically short of the expectations surrounding his blockbuster switch to Ferrari after 12 years with Mercedes. The 40-year-old qualified a modest 8th on Saturday before managing to secure just a single championship point in Sunday's incident-filled race, which was won by McLaren's Lando Norris ahead of Red Bull's Max Verstappen and Hamilton's former Mercedes teammate George Russell. "It was very tricky and went a lot worse than I thought it would go," Hamilton told Sky Sports F1 after the race. "The car was really hard to drive today. For me, I'm just grateful I kept it out of the wall, because that's where it wanted to go most of the time." The difficulties Hamilton faced were evident throughout the race, which started in wet conditions, dried up, and then finished with another rain shower. This challenging mix of conditions appeared to exacerbate the problems Hamilton was experiencing as he adapted to his new team and car. "I didn't have any confidence in the car and was nearly in the wall most of the time," Hamilton said. "It felt like I was in the deep end. Overall, not what I was hoping for, but there was so much to get accustomed to get used to, with all the switch settings and changes that the team, were throwing at you over the radio." Hamilton's frustration peaked when Ferrari kept him and Leclerc on slicks as rain fell with 13 laps to go. While this briefly put Hamilton in the lead, the strategy backfired as conditions worsened. I hung out as long as I could, got in the lead at one point, Hamilton explained. Just the guidance with how much more rain was coming was missing there, so I think we missed out. The information I got was it would be a short shower, real quick. At the time, it was only at the last corner, so to me I thought the rest of the track was dry, I can keep this on track if that's all that's coming, then more came. The strategic miscalculation was acknowledged by Ferrari team principal Frederic Vasseur, who admitted the team had made the wrong decision regarding when to switch to wet tires. It was the first time we had to communicate between the pit wall and car we can do a better job,